This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pornian Bakery. If you're located in the Pornian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pornian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right. Well, I guess first things first, happy birthday, Vish. Officially getting to that age. Remember when they were like, everyone's like, 40 is, you're not 40, but you know, people are like, 40 is the midlife year, you know, and like in those TV shows back in the day, and it was like 40 and then they start having like the midlife crisis where they like quit their job and then they'd like buy that car or they'd like change career or something like that. Do you remember Wishbone, the TV show? Yeah, right, so I'm pretty sure it was from Wishbone, but his dad did that there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at like 40 he like bought a car or something. They were talking about midlife crisis, and I always thought about that, but then now as we're like approaching that age, I feel like we're not really close to that age, but you know what I mean? Like we're more into our 30s than we are into our 20s, you know? And it's interesting to think about like how that 40 mark has been pushed further, you know what I mean? So like they say like 50's the new 40 or like 40's the new 30, you know what I'm saying? Like they're put, I guess maybe genetic wise or timeline wise, I'm not too sure why.
I don't know.
But I mean, like, remember when like Jesus died at 33, right? And he was considered really old, but like now like 33 is like young. You know what I'm saying? Like it's weird. Maybe it's like a relative thing because they died a lot sooner. So like people who were 40 were like sages back in the ancient time, you know what I mean? They're like, you survived 40 years without like disease or, you know? Yeah, I just thought that was funny. It's weird, like, because of medicine, you know, we're quickly like stomping out old age. Yeah,
it seemed medicine or
like Joe Rogan, he's like 51, 52, but he's like jacked, right? But he's also like, I'm on all these like supplements and I'm like taking HGH and stuff, like steroids, not steroids, but like a form of steroids.
Right.
Yeah, weird. Modern medicine, man, it's crazy. Any thoughts as you get older? You're like, oh, no, nothing's changed.
I don't think anything's really changed yet.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Interesting. I remember when I hit like 31 and I was like, oh, this is real now. Because like at 30, I was like, meh, it's like not really, Actually, all right, so you know what's really interesting? Because I was listening to this podcast recently about the Amazon. I think we talked about it before, but like how everything in the Amazon, like they actually had, because I guess I read like a Native American book, and they're saying that there were so many of them, like
so many of
Native Americans, right? And what really killed 95% of them was the Black Plague, right? They believe there was like millions of Native Americans, but they just got wiped out through this
Black Plague
disease.
or something.
It was Black Plague, yeah. And well, I mean, I'm sure they've like had different diseases over time, but the one that I was listening to was about the Black Plague, and it's interesting because like when you hear stories like that, and then you think about how they're now discovering cities in the Amazon, you know, like full on, like through the LiDAR thing, like I was saying, like it shows like that there used to be a city here.
Oh, right.
In the Amazon, and it makes you think like how tough life was to get to an old age. So like, all right, let's say COVID didn't have a vaccine, we would have just been like, half of us would have been slaughtered right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's weird, like how I was saying before, that as we're getting older, that old, quote unquote old age idea is like becoming younger and younger, or becoming older and older. Oh no, yeah,
later and later.
Later and later, yeah. So it's like the 40s the new 30, 50s the new 40, you know. And it's, when you look at it like that, it's like, yeah, we really would have died so much easier back then. Like, it killed 95%, they believe, of the Native Americans.
Any like simple cuts can get right? like infected and stuff like that. Yeah.
But what they said is that our brains haven't evolved, like, because they don't evolve that quickly. So like us and Jesus's brain, we would have had the same, like, if you brought somebody from Jesus' time to now, it would have been identical. It's just like what you're learning, you know, in that time. Allegedly, it's like same with Neanderthals too. If you brought a Neanderthal to now, it's like, it's relatively similar.
Right. Yeah. I mean, comparing to like evolution, because which takes like millennia, years, right, to really see a change.
It's weird though, right? Because they're like older, like like, oh, they're old, you know.
Well, they were dealing with more harsher climates or like environments. Yeah.
Like simple thing like tetanus, you know. We have like the tetanus shot now, but if you were to get tetanus now and not get the shot, you could die from it. Or like one common one for BJJ is staph. So like it's like a skin. It's like, it can become like a flesh-eating disease, right? If you don't put antibiotics right away. And like, they didn't have antibiotics back then, so it's like you would have just straight up died from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's weird. Some people believe, I saw like a meme about this, and there's like different places in the world that think that a black magic spell has like released, and that's what COVID is.
Okay.
But when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's not far off from what people would have thought back then.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like without science, so it's again,
of course.
It's like, yeah, our brains are the same. Like, some people still believe that it's like a magic spell, you know, and then other people are like, oh, it's science. No, it's a virus.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
just knowledge changes, but like us as a vessel,
right?
Like,
but I mean, like, even think of like religion is some 5,000, 2,000 years old. We're still following that.
That's very true, dude. I didn't even think about that. We're like in 2021, and I was like,
we still believe in the devil.
Yeah, dude. I
evil.
Actually, I think it's one of the topics, but I was in like baptism this week, and while I was there, I hadn't been there in a long time, and I realized, like, having listened to it, because like Jared's like converting, and then his kid was getting baptized, so like me and Tara are the godparents, just by de facto, because like we're the only ones he really knows close enough to be who are Catholic.
Yeah.
It's like, you could pick anyone, right? But it's like, okay, might as well pick somebody you actually know that's like Catholic or whatever. And one thing that it made me realize is, it's almost like it's straight up archaic. You know, it's like, all right, so we're watching Harry Potter now as well, and it's so funny. There was this picture of I think it's like God holding Jesus as a baby, or maybe it was like Joseph. No, it must be Joseph, because St. Joseph's Church. Yeah, so Joseph is holding Jesus, right? And then Tara is like, it's like Voldemort being held by Wormtail. And we couldn't not see it, and then we started laughing. Like, we were like, we were actually at the front too, though. It was like horrible, because like they were like doing the water thing, and then I started to chuckle, and then Tara like hit me like, stop laughing. But like, it was hard to. But then he started to, like, he pulled out a book and he started reciting basically an incantation.
Yeah.
He was like, do you believe that Jesus is the savior of God, of the world, and blah blah. And like, do you believe that the devil is evil, and blah blah. And yes, I do. And like, seeing that depiction of Harry Potter. Obviously, Harry Potter came after the Bible, but it's kind of ironic how they put that as like the iconography of Harry Potter. It's like witches and wizards and spells, and then we literally the priest is opening up a book and reading a spell to all of us. Yeah. may the Lord protect thee. Yeah. And blah, blah. He was like, whoa. I was like, this is trippy. But all right, but one really interesting thing about it is it's like a home. It's like a gang. Okay, you know when you're like in like you're in like a sketchy area or like the co-ops or whatever, right? And then like you have Crips and Bloods, and then okay, I have no family. My mom's working all the time. I need protection, and then like you join this gang, and like you have to do a certain thing to join it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
It was literally the same thing. It's like they were converting a bunch of people that day. It wasn't just Jared's family, right?
Yeah.
And it was weird to see like it's like if you have no home, they will be your home.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're accepting of God.
Yeah, no, Jesus. It's a community.
Yeah, a community. Yeah, totally. But I say gang because like knowing what they did in history and like they waged the war, right? The
sure.
Dark Ages was all about that.
Right.
But it was weird too because like I made this joke, well, because we've known Jared so long, right? And like the priest was like, "You are now brothers and sisters in Christ." So I turned to Jared. I'm like, "Oh, are we brothers in Christ now?" And he's like, "We've always been brothers." And I was like, "Oh, that's so cute." But like at the same time, it's like, "Oh." Now I look at this person I don't even know and I must consider them a brother. It's like, you're both now Crips. You're both now Bloods.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So trippy.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're all in a way a version of a community, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's actually how Crips started, right? Well, I forgot the acronym, but Crips means something about like taking back power, revolutionary in progress, something. Can you see what the acronym of CRIP is? It means something good. It's like it's like something positive,
right?
And they did it because like they needed to band together because the police were too much, you know, against the black community. And I guess like it's the same thing because if you look at how Christianity was born, it was born out of like the lowest of the low, right? Like
common revolution in progress. Is that what that is?
Yeah. Revolution in progress.
Common revolution in progress.
Yeah. So like, look at that. It's like you're talking about a revolution. It didn't start off as like a negative thing. It was a very positive thing, but now it's like turned into something negative.
Sure.
You know, but yeah, like looking at the history of Christianity, it's the same thing. Like it was born off of slaves, right? Like the Hebrews were in Egypt, they were slaves, and then they became the Jews, and then the Jews got marginalized, then Jesus, and then it became Christianity because of Christ, Jesus, and then like they started like killing all the Christians. There was like a war against pagans and Christians, and then it wasn't until what's his name, Constantine, converted. He was a pagan, converted to Christianity, and then it became like mainstream. Yeah,
right.
It's weird. It's weird when you think about it like that, you know, parallels, but nobody's thinking about it like that, which is weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the things we still do today, right? In 2,000 years, 4,000 years, even at the older religions, same thing, right? So it's
totally.
So it's like we're still doing the same.
It shows you that, like,
old traditions.
Your brain doesn't, like when we were saying that
the evolution
the evolution, because like it's really what you've been taught, like the brain still has the exact same capacity, but it's like, what is your level of understanding of the world, right? But people are still stuck in, but it's weird to me because it's like with the internet you can easily just read these things, you know?
There seems to be more people not like they would be fine with the community, but not necessarily be religious.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've seen that too. Yeah.
So I think that's what's happening more now.
Yeah. Actually, well, speaking of that, because like, you know, Jared's not religious, but in order to go to the best school in the area, you have to be Catholic. So it's like, okay, we'll just convert. It's like, it's sort of like that, you know, like we need to be a part of the community, but we're not necessarily religious. But it's weird because like listening to the priest, he was like, the church has gone through so many scandals, and it's great to see that as people are leaving, you guys are coming in. I'm like, but do you know why these people are joining? You know what I mean? Like, do they actually believe in Christ, or is there something else going on?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works. I guess if you're just baptized, does that mean you automatically are going to heaven?
No.
You have to practice.
Baptism takes away your original sin. The original sin is Adam and Eve. So because she ate the apple. That's the original sin, that she ate the apple.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy? Like, the original sin that we're still sad about is the fact that Eve ate an apple that kicked us out of the Garden of Eden. And then being baptized, you're washing away the first sin. And then obviously you're going to sin throughout your life. And then that's what repenting is for. And then you just ask God for forgiveness.
Okay.
But there's no cap to that. There's no limit. So it's like, you could really do, which is crazy too, because like you can have like murderers. Actually, I thought this was so I was like, I went to a relatively rough high school, right? And like there was like gang members. Obviously you're not really a blood and crip, because that's like American thing. But like they would rep that there, right? And they do like nefarious stuff. Like, I'd known people in my grade who did that stuff, and then as soon as we went to church, they were like the most religious person, the most pious person. I was like, this is so hypocritical. I would literally see this dude like stomp out another dude at school, steal his money, and then we went to church, like, because there's only like 5 churches in the area, right? And then like I'd see them at church and they're so pious, and I'm like, what is that the thing? You just like, you go to school, rob someone, and then you go back, and then you're like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And you just repeat the cycle. You know, I was like,
yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say too much on it, but yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like an infinite cycle of forgiveness is weird. But you know what's trippy? Well, I mean, I think only Jesus brought that in, though. So like, if you're a Christian, you get that thing. I don't know if the Islam, I'm reading the Islam Essentials right now. And so this is trippy too. Like, I always thought they were different, you know, for the longest time, like Jews, Christians, Muslims. Oh. Like when I was younger. Okay. Right? Because you think of them as separate, like they're the other. You know, we're not Jewish, we're Christian or Catholic, whatever. You know, and then like when you realize, I remember when I was in Catholic school, and then I think Sid was dating someone who's Christian, and I was like, what's the difference? And then nobody really knew. We just made up some stuff. Like, I think because Mary, you look at Mary as a holy figure. Yeah. They don't. Something like, right? They don't do that. But then in my head, I'm like, then why are we separate? Like, what is it really that it's like such a subtle difference? And then you find out, like, no, these 3 main religions are all the same religion. It's like, oh, what's going on here, guys? Like, I feel like bamboozled a little bit, you know, because you're like, I was taught my entire life you were the other, but when you read this, it's like, no, we're the same.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can say they're the same, but they wouldn't agree, right? Because they have differences in practice.
Yeah, but still,
right?
Like, sure, but that's like reading the first Harry Potter book and then not reading the third one. You're like, the third one doesn't count because the first one came first. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's the same story. Same Harry's the same.
Yeah, I can see that. It depends on your thing. So if you're Jewish, it's like you don't believe Jesus was the Messiah that was supposed to be coming. You don't believe he was the second coming.
Yeah, for sure. Right? But we're looking at the
No, but the funny thing is, like, this is like very like limited stuff that I do know that I keep watching on Speaker's Corner, right? Yeah. So then Jewish or the Christians believe he was the Messiah based on what was in the Old Testament, right?
Totally.
And then Muslims do believe in Jesus, but not as a Messiah.
As a prophet.
As a prophet, but they also believe that he is who's going to be coming back.
Okay,
so they do have some level of.
But there's like forest and the trees here, right? So we're looking at the trees.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we'll split hairs. But if you zoom out, all 3 religions are based on the Abrahamic God. The God didn't change.
No, the God didn't change.
So it's like, what? Well, why? Who
but
cares
they don't
about
think.
splitting
Again,
hairs,
it's like, if you really talk to them, this is the arguments that they have at Speaker's Corner, right?
No, but totally, I agree. But if you like zoom out, it's like we're all talking about the same God, right? So it's like,
well, I wouldn't think that they would agree with that, right? They wouldn't say that Christians wouldn't say that Islam is the same God.
All right, if that's true, then there is no real, like, who's, like, if the books are based off one another, but they believe that they're
not that they're based off one another. It's like
they're continuous, right?
I get that, but that would be what, because if Islam is the last book, because that's what they would think. It's all of those are connected to their thing.
Totally.
But Christianity, it ends in Christianity, right? It doesn't go to another person.
But what I'm saying is, if they don't believe in the same God, right, then they've by default proven polytheism, multiple gods, because they said there's only one God.
Yeah.
Right? So if there's only one God, but you're believing in three different versions of the same God, then by default it means that there's multiple gods.
Right.
Because like the Muslims, like, that's not my God.
Right, but the thing is that yeah, again, it's like arguing. Yeah, that's there. Then there will be like, you're being influenced by the devil.
It's like
you're not
the Jewish God was actually the devil in disguise.
Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy.
or it's like, yeah, that could be true, but it's like, that's why like there are certain Jewish people who are just following as a cultural, but they don't actually believe the book.
Totally.
They're more of a metaphor and stuff. So there's that type of Jewish people. There's Orthodox Jews fully following it, right?
Yeah.
I think they're more similar to, I would say, Islam than they are to Christianity.
Right, because everyone's focusing on
because they do have very similar things, actually, Jewish and Islam.
Yeah, but
much more similar.
If you read like the Quran, they say, like, this is why I agree the most with the Quran. Well, one, it's the latest book, and two, the whole purpose of the Quran was everyone started focusing on Jesus, so as like the savior. So God sent Angel Gabriel to be like, no, focus back on God, not on the prophet.
Well, they believe it's the triune God. It's the same God. Jesus is God.
Well, in Christianity. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But what?
So
what the Muslims are saying is like, no, you've glorified, you've made a false idol,
right,
out of Jesus.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Remember, there was a book where it said that there was a certain sect of people that didn't believe Jesus died on the cross.
Oh yeah.
So that seems like where Muslim is more like, because they didn't think he would die on the cross.
Yeah. Like he lived.
So it comes from that angle.
Sense. Oh, that's interesting. All right, but irregardless, we're still like there's like the forest and the trees here. You know, we're looking at the trees, but it's like zoom out and just see that we're all talking about one God, though.
Sure. Yeah.
But you know that thing about the devil that you were just saying? There's a sect of Christianity called Gnostics, right? And it's not Gnosticism, like Gnostic is knowledge. It's like that's where the word comes from. So what they're centered around is like development of knowledge. So they believe that God was actually the snake because he gave knowledge to Eve.
Yeah, right.
And then the devil was like the God of Abraham because he didn't want them to have knowledge. It's kind of, I wonder if that's like where the branch of like Luciferianism comes from, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of funny. It's like all these metaphors or parables, like a tree of knowledge. What's wrong with the tree of knowledge? First of all, totally. Right? Like, you're telling us to be ignorant by not
you're telling us to be ignorant. Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
I like
it's
Jordan
fun.
Peterson's analogy of it though. Like when he breaks it down, he's like you first become conscious. So like if it's it's allegory, it's not real, right? So it's an allegory. So it's a story. So Eve eats from the tree of knowledge. So when you gain knowledge, you become conscious of the world. But becoming conscious of the world, you create suffering, right? And that's why you leave the Garden of Eden, because now you're in a world of not ignorant bliss, but like just straight suffering. You see that the perils, right? Yeah. And then you have to, the whole work of Christianity at that point is to return back to the Garden of Eden, aka become super conscious and realize like, okay, this is just what's going on. No, basically Taoism. That's why I'm like, it's just
even that what you said is the cave analogy once again.
Oh, like when you leave the cave, like Plato's cave. Yeah. And then like you're trying to tell people like, no, there's a whole world outside here. Yeah. They can't.
But then you're in that world alone because you can convince the like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. So you have to like convince them to leave the cave, and then everyone can join the Garden of Eden again. Yeah, totally. It's weird. It's weird, but it's weird because that's really just how the mind works. It's like you take away all these stories, right? And
but we've been telling stories for a long time.
Totally, yeah,
right?
Since the beginning of time,
Since the beginning.
But if you take away all these stories, like these metaphor, these religious parables, like what do you have left? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you have whatever you choose to believe. Yeah. So like if you look at it at a very reductionist level, like life is just a story you tell yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's like if nobody ever heard of Jesus and nobody ever heard of like all the other religions, they'd mean nothing. Like let's say like
I just think there will be still a story.
There will be a story.
Yeah.
But like see how
just a different story.
A different story. So what that tells you is that it doesn't matter about the story. It doesn't matter about what the story is. It just matters that we tell ourselves stories.
Yeah.
Because that's how we like go about our day to day. You know, back then they believed in the volcano god and like all this, and then like learned it's not real, and then that became the new story. It's like no, the new story is science. You know. Yeah.
But I find that the nature gods is like
the most equanimity, right? Like the most like balance, because you're like working within nature. Yeah, totally, I agree with you. Shintoism in Japan, I really like that one because they believe that like I guess it's sort of like Hinduism too, though. You remember how you told me like there's a god for everything, so there's like a paper god, and like like if you step on a piece of paper or whatever, that could be a god, so you gotta like be mindful of it.
Yeah, but I think these are all metaphors too. It's like
be conscious
because
of the
paper
world,
in itself is like there's knowledge on there, right? It's things written down or printed on. So it's like it's more like giving respect to these things. Like like I think like one of the morning prayers, like it means is like forgive me for stepping on you, which is earth, right? You're stepping on it.
Wow, see,
right? Something like that. There's a line like that. So it's like it's very earthly, right?
Totally.
With fire or all the elementi, I would say, right? Something like that.
Yeah, no,
but you have to understand the meanings. If you don't understand, because it's all in Sanskrit, if you don't understand it, you're just saying the words, right?
Right.
So you should also understand what you're saying.
For sure. Yeah, totally. In Shintoism, it's very similar because they're like, everything has a spirit. So it's like there's the tree spirit, and you can like pray to the tree, and you can pray to like the water and like all that. But it's the same thing. Right? Everything takes on a form. But
it's more like a matter of like respect to something that's giving you life, right?
Totally. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
You know. But that's why it's funny, because there's only one religion that separated, because you're like, oh, there's like equanimity, balance, and like those nature-based religions, right? But in the Abrahamic religions, it's all about humans have dominion over nature.
Yeah. So, but this must have been in a way to convince ourselves to
farm,
to farm, sheep, to pillage, to to colonize.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah, for sure. It's like the driving force. If you didn't have that type of religion, you probably wouldn't have had globalization.
And maybe like the phrase itself, where convert people, right?
Yeah, no, totally.
That itself is going to cause that issue.
Spread the word of
spread
God.
The word. Yeah. Which is going to cause you to conquer. Use these methodologies to convert people. So you go to other parts of the world and spread the religion.
Yeah,
it can be forcefully or
the person. So like, there's a guide who brings you like when you're converting. I had no idea about this because I was already brought into it. But like Jared was a part of like a group, and the guide, their job was to like bring people and teach them about Jesus and like why you want to be a part of this, all this stuff. And like at the end, she was there at the ceremony, and she was like crying because she's like, oh, my work is so fulfilling. I bring people out. I'm like, oh, like you're doing, you believe you're doing the work of God, which is like converting other people, and you feel fulfilled for that.
Right.
But that is straight up like a colonization thing,
Yeah, but that's but it's her.
Like,
sure, outside perspective wise, right? Yeah, but she doesn't know that she's necessarily doing it like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because she's like in the Garden of Eden right now, like hasn't eaten the apple.
Right, and then there's also like other incentives. I think it's there in Islam where it's like if you do convert someone or say the Shahada, I think that's what the word is. you also get a better spot in heaven or something like that.
Oh dang! So you get like
there's like another incentive here, right?
Yeah, you get like a bonus. A sign-up
it's
bonus.
like
it's funny when you think of it like that. You know, it's like sign up bonus, bro.
Yeah, but it's not in this world; it's in the next world.
That's the other thing, right? Out of all the religions, there's only one religion that focuses on the next life, and not this life.
Yeah,
there literally is only one. I guess no, I'll take that back, because Hinduism, karma, right? Your caste.
Yeah,
you're growing up in your caste, so
right?
But next reincarnation.
But then, in the sense of they're thinking about the next world.
But the next world is this world still.
Yeah,
it's your next life.
So it's like reincarnation. So it's like if you do your good deeds, you're gonna get a better life.
Yeah, but the whole aim of Hinduism is to leave this world and achieve moksha, right? And to become one with like the universal spirit, or Brahman. Yeah. But there's no heaven. It's just like we don't have to reincarnate anymore, because we
don't reincarnate anymore. Yeah,
right. So actually, I take it back. The Abrahamic religions are the only ones that are focused on a next life, to build a better life for your next life. Like in heaven, not like in this earth.
Right.
Because like Hinduism's all about still this earth.
Yeah, if you keep doing it. Yeah, if you haven't done your moksha and reached enlightenment.
Yeah. Okay.
You're going to keep repeating.
Let me tell you my analogy for that. And I think, I really think that this is what it is. I think in terms of like karma and like achieve like the reincarnate your next life, that's literally your offspring. So if you have a kid, right, that kid is your next life. This is how I'm taking it, right? And if you haven't achieved all the things you want in this world, you're going to start pushing what you want onto that kid, right? Because you're like, well, I couldn't be this famous actor, so you'll be a famous actor, right? So it's like, that's the reincarnation, that's the karma. You're just like passing on.
You're built. Yeah, I understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or in more scientific terms, now that Tara's like studying this, it's like it's traumas, right? Traumas from the past moving to the next life, right? To your kids past, like it's like a generational trauma.
I wonder if the word is connected somewhere there. Karma, trauma. It's like.
Oh yeah, maybe. But it does sound like it. They do like not. Like aside from the sound of it, the idea is the same, right? Yeah. Karma and trauma is the same thing, because it's like you're not getting over something, so you're pushing it down the line, and you're pushing it down the line. You know, like, oh, we come from a whole long line of warriors. Yeah, you know, so you must be a warrior too. It's like, okay, that's your generational trauma, you know, and I feel like the way to liberate yourself from this world is to relieve the trauma of your generation. Like the trauma ends at me, and then now you have a full new life. Like, I'm not dependent on my child to live out the life that I wanted. Yeah. So that's why I'm liberated. Yeah. You know? Right. Or just don't have a kid. Same thing. Then you're literally just ending the. But you know what I mean? Like
that's true. Yeah,
it does sound correct, right? If you look at like the idea of moksha and reincarnation, it sounds like generational trauma to me. Yeah, that doesn't stop until you liberated it, and then there's no more like baggage for the future. Yeah. Or were you looking up
No, I couldn't find it. Not the connection yet. I gotta like do more taking.
Got it. Yeah. Without like continuing, let's just shift topics now, because I'm like, this could just become a straight religious podcast again. Yeah. Okay, so let's just go into the movie. Green Knight. What do you think?
Very artsy.
Yeah, no, it was very artsy. It was crazy because we all fell asleep.
Yeah. It's, if you're thinking of Lord of the Rings fantasy, no. I would say for me, I can connect it to more like The Witcher, because it took me 3 years to finish this game, where it's like that kind of fantasy, where it's long, very slow grind.
A slow grind. You're right.
Slow grind to get to the thing. But if you really want to, like, it's based on a poem. Yeah. And it's in the world of King Arthur world, right? And he is the nephew of King Arthur.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, he said that in the time and when he was talking to him.
Wait, that
you
was
were
King
my
Arthur?
blood. Yeah, he was King Arthur.
Oh,
the
I
king.
didn't know that. I didn't know the king was King Arthur.
Yeah, so that's why I was watching a review where it's like they didn't focus on telling you that this is King Arthur world, but it is King Arthur. That's why they were sitting around in the round table.
Oh, shoot. That makes way more sense now. I was like, who's this king? Why am I attaching to anything? Like, you need to lay down the foundation, bro. Because
yeah, but they weren't selling the point on. They could have used that as a selling point, but they didn't want to focus on that.
But then I didn't care about the character. I was like, who's this guy? Why am I watching this?
But they did say it in the movie. That's why.
They said King Arthur?
They didn't say King Arthur, but they did say his nephew. I had to look it up after.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a brutal one. I thought I was the only one falling asleep, so I didn't want to like motion for us to leave,
right?
Because I was like, I don't know if you guys are enjoying it. So then I was forcibly I tried to stay awake.
I think it's also because it was late and I was pretty full from the food.
Yeah, it's true.
I feel like I feel like I could have, because I did get up. When I did get up, I was more like following the story.
But I
was able to follow the story. But that was like when it was kind of moving fast paced, because it was like he left the Green Knight in that part of the story, and then you see him like with a kid and then growing older and older. That was moving faster.
Totally, yeah.
But that was like the last 15 minutes.
But I wonder if you felt more awake because we all had a power nap.
Maybe.
You know, we all had a 15. I felt like when I woke up for the last 15 minutes, I was like, oh, I feel refreshed.
But I don't know how much I really missed, because I did see a lot of the stuff. I don't know what I missed.
I don't. Yeah.
Because I did get up to the house part, like the castle part.
Okay.
Where he meets these three people.
Okay.
Or three people, right? With the old lady and the eyes were
I don't even
wrapped.
remember. I don't remember.
Yeah. See, like,
bro.
But I woke up somewhere around there. But I remember him going to the castle. But I must have been off probably like, I don't know how long. But like throughout it, I was in and out.
Yeah.
But I was still following the story, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much exactly I missed when I did fall asleep.
I was like, I was getting all panicky. Because like the only time I've ever felt this was during hot yoga, my first hot yoga class, because I was like, oh my god, what is this? It's so hot. How much time is left? Oh god. You know, I was like, those were the same thoughts last night. I was like, oh my god, what's going on? Why am I still in this chair? What time is it? I look at the time, it's like, oh my god, we have an hour left in the movie, you know. And then
this movie could have been like an hour and a half.
Yeah, why we need such a long and then but I know I snore when I sleep, so I was really afraid that I was snoring, and I was like, please somebody wake me up if I'm doing that, because I don't want to ruin it for everyone else. And then remember, like, my arm like spasmed and I hit my Coke, and I was like, oh dude, what? And then Sunshine dropped her water because she fell asleep, but I didn't even know. I was like, we all heard the noise, we're like, oh, what's going on? I
was awake for that part.
Oh, okay, yeah. I woke up because of that sound. I was like, oh, what's going on?
It did feel very much like a Witcher, though. Like, thinking about it again, it's like a lot of those scenes, like when he was at a cabin. I don't know if you were awake for that part. Like, he's found a cabin. He was like drowning, or like he went in the water to get her head.
I woke up to that part where he woke up, and then somebody's like, why are you sleeping in my bed?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what's going on?
So that reminded me of like Witcher 2. It's like, there was like a trailer like that had that kind of thing. Oh, okay. And it was like a ghost, and she was a ghost, right?
I wonder if the movie would be good if you had watched it already and you're like, okay, this is going to be
I think so, yeah. If you knew what the Green Knight meant, you would know that what it's about.
But like, all right, so visually it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I liked the visual effects, like the way it was portrayed, but I really didn't like
if you don't
pacing.
Exactly, yeah. If you're looking for, if you like fantasy but you're specifically in the world of like Lord of the Rings fantasy that has like an action and everything,
yeah.
Well, that's not going to be in here.
There's like no action.
There's nothing in here like that.
Yeah.
If you're like just being in a world of fantasy world and seeing magic, or
there wasn't even really magic.
Or like the world of their fantasy with giants. It kind of, I don't know. But I think this was in the world of King Arthur.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, because I was reading some comments where it's like, there was magic in the world of King Arthur and these sort of creatures, I guess, that we didn't. They've never put that in any of the King Arthur stuff.
No. If you watch King Arthur, Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, but I don't think was there giants and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, they had giants.
Yeah, the big war was like in the beginning was like giant elephants and
okay.
Like a giant,
so they had little bits of it. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
But it's not like something that I would think about when I think about King Arthur. No, that's what I'm saying.
No, well, I only think of King Arthur now in terms of Guy Ritchie's one because I hated all the old ones. But like I just think about how they had like magic and magical creatures.
Yeah.
But I didn't even realize this was a king. I know you said it was like based on a King Arthur poem, but now that you're like, oh, that king was King Arthur, I'm like, okay, this makes more sense. Like it's like it's really in the world. I thought
it's really
like,
in that.
I thought it was like a side tale kind of thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like
no, it's really in that world, yeah. And some of these, like
why did you choose a brown person? I was confused.
Why not? It's fantasy, first of all.
No, I know, but like staying true to that time, I'm like, were there brown people?
No. It has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
Because I've heard this before, where it's like when it's fantasy, it doesn't matter who is playing what, as long as you know who the characters are.
No, totally. Yeah.
Why did they pick him? Maybe they like.
No. I mean, no. Oh. Like, why did you, like? Okay, there's fantasy, and then there's like fiction, right?
Okay.
So like, sure, in the fantasy part, yeah, it could be whatever you want, right? You have like. We see that now, like they're putting like black characters where it should have been a white character, you know. But what I'm saying is like within the fiction of that world, it was predominantly Caucasian.
Sure, yeah, it's European.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I was like, why did they put? I was wondering like, why did they put in the story? Did he marry an Indian person, or
I have no idea about that.
Okay,
I just don't think. I would not think so. I would not think so.
That's what I'm saying. So like within the actual fiction of it, so then now we're going towards like the art aspect of it, like let's make him brown. But I was like, I wasn't sure if like the Green Knight was actually ethnically different. You know what I'm saying? Like, was that a part of the lore? And that's what, because that could make it better. It's like, oh, that's why he seemed like an outcast.
I don't know. I don't think so. I would not think so.
That's why I was
as
confused.
A default thinking, but I didn't look into this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he seemed more like a almost like an outcast. Like he was lower than that, right? So I was like, is it because you're brown? I couldn't figure that out.
No, I think it was just because he not no King Arthur. Right? He was like a nephew to King Arthur. So it was just more like that. Totally. That's what they were trying to show.
But the way they portrayed it, I was wondering if in the poem he was ethnically different.
I don't think it was ethnically different.
Okay. So it's just straight fantasy, not fiction. Okay. Yeah. I thought it was a part of the lore. So I was like, that's cool. They had that back then. It's random.
I would not think so, but I don't know.
Okay.
I just don't think so. Maybe he was. I don't know. I don't want to say anything else other than I don't know.
But imagine we read it. It's like, yeah, he was brown. It's like, oh, that makes way more sense now. Because like, why did he treat him with such indignation? Yeah. Anyways, trash movie. I think it was definitely not worth the.
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, really differentiating, like, what kind of fantasy you're looking at here. And I think for people who like The Witcher, or like who can handle that kind of game within a short amount of time, like playing through it. Like, I can't play through it like in like a week. This took me 3 years to finish this game. So if you're like that kind of RPG type of games, I think you would probably like this movie if you understand that kind of world.
Right. Because it's slow.
Yeah, it's very slow. Yeah, which didn't work for me.
Yeah, like why do I need to watch you walking through the hillside for 20 minutes?
Yeah.
We didn't need that. It was like,
well, yeah, we're not the audience.
but all right, so this is crazy. What you just can't trust highly polarizing Rotten Tomato reviews. So like Rotten Tomatoes gave Fast and Furious really low, and then the audience score gave it really high. So we were like, what? I agree with Rotten Tomatoes here. And then this one, Rotten Tomatoes gave it 90, and then the audience score was like super low. And then now we're like, I did not agree with the Rotten Tomatoes score. So it's like, if it's so polarizing, you get like a coin flip, you know?
Yeah.
But if they're like in sync, it's like you can trust that review more.
Yeah, if they're like the same, then
like
all
70
right.
and 70, or 80, 80. But like if you're getting 90 and like 40, you're like, I need to really Yeah. Although you did say that going in, remember it got 90 and then it got really, I can't remember what it was, like 40 or something. So it was like
Yeah, it was low. It was low. Yeah, most people will not like this movie.
And you were like, oh, maybe it's probably because it's artsy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe. And then we watched it. I was like, yeah,
It's
artsy.
Yeah.
So like Rotten Tomatoes loved it because they're like, oh, it is art. It is artsy. But
It's super
just,
artsy. Yeah. If you, I guess, generally critic people are like, they love movies, I guess, right? So it's like they look for, being in the world of fantasy or whatnot. Yeah. So it's like, for them, it works, but it's not for the general public.
Yeah. Yeah, true. But there are like, it was trying to create a world. Okay. It's one of those movies where it creates a world, and if you want to fill in the gaps yourself, you can, and you can enjoy it. Because it gave nothing about the world. There's no explanation about the world.
No.
Right? But now juxtapose that to Harry Potter, which we've been watching, and like they've created a whole world that feels like a world.
Yep.
And they've explained everything in it. So like Harry Potter is like that. If like you were like, oh, if you want to jump into that world of fantasy, it's like, no, if you really want to jump into a world of fantasy, like watch Harry Potter, because like that is that, like,
I think if you're first time going into fantasy, sure, yeah, because you've never, I don't think you should be going to this if you've never.
But if you're one of those people that's like I want to fill in the gap, or a lot about that lore already, then it's like, oh yeah, giants, and giants have this and this. It's like most people don't do that. We need to be like brought through.
Yeah.
This is a very niche movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. I was actually going to get into Harry Potter, but I'll wait because we're like 2 movies done, and then we can recap it when we're done.
Sure.
I'm really, really liking it right now. Okay. So another thing is, have you ever heard of transracialism? I heard about this on a podcast. I was like, oh, I should bring this up with you.
Transracialism? Okay. Just remind me what that is.
So, so there's like transgender now, right?
Okay.
So now there's a new developing thing called transracialism, which is that person who's white and he's like, I'm Korean.
Okay, yeah, that's not real.
Okay, right. But so I was listening to a podcast with Joe Rogan and Ari Shaffir, and they were talking about it, and it's like, I like how you said, yeah, that's not real. But we also thought the same thing about transgender until they could actually do it technologically.
Yeah, but transgender has been there for a long time.
Totally, I agree with you. But it became a reality when technology caught up. Because then you could actually do you could actually really
no, you could do the thing, but they were already there for a longer time. Transracialism was not there until now.
Right. But what I'm saying is, imagine if we hit a point.
No, but why I'm saying that is because you can actually have like this in your brain where you actually are.
No, but I think the same thing about transracialism.
No, you can't.
Why not?
Because the race that you're in, you're born into. How can you experience what a Korean is if you've never been around Korea? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
how can you experience what a girl is if you've never been a girl? Same argument.
No. Because because it's not about being a girl.
Yeah.
Right. Your brain is wired that way.
Okay.
Your brain is not wired to be specific races.
Okay.
Your brain can be wired based on gender.
I see what you're saying, because gender is a biological thing, but race is a cultural thing.
Yeah. Like your brain can't be wired to be I'm Jamaican. No, it doesn't make sense.
Oh, that is a good argument. That is a good argument, Vish. That is a good argument. Okay, wait. That is a really good argument. So, like, you're saying if you took an Asian baby right from birth and just put him with white people, he'd probably be white.
His experiences will be white.
No, that's what I mean. So it's like he will have no attachment to being Asian.
Yeah.
Well, all right. There are certain things like biologically we were talking about yesterday with like being lactose intolerant. But like
sure, but that's
like race is a cultural thing.
Yeah.
That is very fascinating. I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. No, because I was like, yeah, I guess when technology catches up.
No, it's not about the technology though, right? Technology can make you look like whatever you want. We're gonna get to that point, right? But you're
like gender's a biological.
Gender's a biological thing that can have.
Or no, not gender, sex. Because we have to differentiate that one.
Sure, yeah. Yes, so that is a biological thing.
That's
right?
so fascinating.
Racial thing is not a real thing.
But all right, true. We've never tested it, but wouldn't it be fascinating if like Jamaicans are really into like Scotch bonnet, right? It's like a spicy pepper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine if like you brought like a Jamaican baby into a white family, and like as he grew up, he's like, "Why is this food so bland?" that would be a big tell, because then we'd be like, "Oh, it could be a genetic component there."
Sure, yeah.
But wait, hold on. Actually, yeah, there is a genetic component, because you might
already
but you would have had to been born within that line.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were born from a completely separate line,
mm-hmm.
then you don't have those genetic components passed down to you. So culture is more psychological, yes, but there are genetic predispositions within your line.
Sure.
Because they're passed down.
Yeah.
So it is genetic, but it can jump to a completely different
but again, you're living in a white community and you feel like you fall in love with Korean music. It doesn't mean you're Korean.
Yeah, that's psychological.
Yeah.
Because your genetics come from a Caucasian line. Yeah. Okay. No, because I was gonna say, like, no, there are genetic components to be like being Filipino. There's a reason why, like, I'm not allergic to peanuts. Because like within my Filipino line, it's like it's not a trait.
Yeah, but that's you're spreading whatever DNA like but you're
like,
not.
But like in terms of sex, male female, that's universal.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like culture and the genetic predispositions associated with a culture are not universal.
Yeah.
Okay, touche. Yeah, I agree with that.
It's really simple as that, because I've been watching about these things,
I was confused,
these debates all the time.
I was like, wow, are we really going to go in that zone? And like, it does make sense.
No, it's what I've seen is like a lot of people are not going with that.
Okay, yeah.
That just doesn't make sense.
You know what's really funny? What they said is like, so what they were saying is Korean people are very hardworking.
Okay.
Right? So when this Caucasian person came out as, "Oh, I'm Korean," they didn't care. They're just like, "Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm doing something right now." But like the fact that this person needed to tell the world that he's Korean, it shows how not Korean he is. He would have just done his thing. He would have been like, "Yeah, I'm Korean. I like all these things. Why do you need me to make a big spectacle out of it?"
Right.
You know, because Korean people don't really do that.
Yeah.
You know? So like, I thought it's kind of funny. It's like automatically you show how more Caucasian you are than Korean.
Yeah, it's like
why did you need to tell all of us?
Is a Korean gonna go like, I'm white? Like it's not gonna happen, right?
No, it's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
Pants will
you
slap him.
you can like that's true.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
go do your homework.
There's nothing wrong with liking specific things of a community.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
I love Japanese food. I'm not Japanese, but I love their food.
Yeah, totally.
Right,
Yeah,
I can
for sure.
Yeah, so
samurai
it's like
culture, martial arts.
we can. Yeah, we can acknowledge all those things and like all those things, but it doesn't mean I don't have you. Like, there's no way that person has a Korean experience.
Yeah,
you can, if you live in Korea, you can say you're Korean, but you're in technicality wise, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So
it's like being Jamaican, but you're Chinese.
Yeah,
it's Chinese Jamaicans.
Yeah, but it's not like it's a cultural thing.
Yeah, totally. Oh, interesting.
Like your brain isn't necessarily wired to be interracial or whatever you said.
Transracial.
Transracial.
That's true. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Food for thought for a lot of people out there. I feel like we're just, I don't know. I feel like we got too much time on our hands. What's going on? Like, why are we focusing on that? Why don't you just focus on making yourself happier? But then they're like, yeah,
well,
but
they are technically making themselves.
No. It's like, but this would make me happy. It's like, okay, then go do that. Why do you need to tell us? Well, why do you need to?
This is the thing. But this is the thing. We're living in a social media world.
Totally, that's what I mean.
Right? And if they grew up with the social media thing, is you want to just say what you want to say to the world, right? That's what you feel like. That's what you grew up with, these sort of things.
Sure.
We didn't grow up with social media in that way.
Right.
So I think like these are young kids who are just like full on speaking
but what I'm thinking is like, why do you need to body your opinion onto me? You know, like what? Why do you need to?
But that's the point of social media, though. Though I know, but that's the point of social media. he's doing
that's
that,
true.
right? But then it's everybody else taking his thing and spreading it even more.
Yeah.
You could have just ignored it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, true. And it just became like a big media thing because like, oh, we can cover this, it'll get a lot of clicks.
Yeah, that's also why it became more bigger.
Yeah. What do you think about this movement with like this like Z thing? Like there's this huge movement now, like
Z?
I'm non-binary and like you know, like
Yeah,
it does make sense when you said that whole universal sex thing. It's like, yeah, maybe you're just hardwired that way too, because they did have that stuff back then. So it's sort of like you didn't know what it was, but they were suffering from something. So like now we're just able to label it. So maybe there is some validity. Like I was lumping it in with the transracial thing, but when you said that, like it's like cultural, so it's psychological, and I'm like, that's totally true. But we like sex is something in all of us. So maybe there is something wired in you that's like, you know, you are neither, or you know,
yeah, that can happen, and I think it's just it's all about like definitions, right? See,
it's sort of like this before. So like we didn't know what gluten was, right? Before it was just bread. So we're all eating bread, and you're like, oh, I'm having a weird reaction to it, and they're like, oh, you're fine. And then you find out about gluten intolerance, and then you're like, oh, it's a gluten intolerance.
Right.
So it's sort of like, oh, I'm having these feelings, and these people are like, you're fine. And then it's like, now you find out, oh, it's a genetic thing.
Yeah.
So now we're just labeling what we didn't know before. I can get down with that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just their time to like make that movement and like whatever.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we're in a time where, people, I guess it's an enlightening time. I don't know, like we would call that, but yeah.
Science, the scientific revolution. Because without science, we wouldn't even know about genetic predispositions.
Right. Yeah,
and like, like being like non-binary or whatever, like that didn't stem on its own. It wasn't like they had to have like looked at it scientifically. Nobody's talking about that back in the Roman times because like they didn't have any science for it.
No,
you know?
Yeah, but also they lived differently too, right? Even Roman or Greek time, right? Like they were doing different things that we do now, right? Like, it was legal then, not legal now.
Oh yeah, totally.
Right,
yeah.
But it was like a lot of the times this comes down to just definition. So like when they say a man, what is a man, right? Like,
Sure,
like there's
which is more of a cultural thing.
Yeah, which is more a cultural thing when you look at it, right? So that's why they're using other terms to differentiate themselves from the specific meaning of man. Or like
that's why they separated gender and sex.
Yeah. But if you encompass the word man, including everything, it's like whatever. Then it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like
sure.
The term could be just different. They're just differentiating based on a term.
Yeah, because in a different like cultural area, maybe being a man is about being really sensitive and being like a loving person, and then in another area, it's about being a warrior. You know, it's like, but what is like the?
But it's the definition that you're putting on it, right? So.
Yeah. What is like the Western idea of what a man is, and then that's what gets permeated now. Yeah, it's crazy, yo. Like, culture is super psychological,
and it really, and it comes down to what they mean by it. Some of these is always like, whenever you're like talking with or arguing with someone, it's like, okay, what does this term mean to you? Are we even talking about the same thing here?
Yeah.
Right, and sometimes you can find commonality that way.
Okay, if you know what's crazy again, if you take a reductionist approach, it's like then nothing means anything because it's like it's up to your interpretation, and if there's no universal definition for it, then it's not real.
Yeah.
Like
that's only your definition of it.
Science is the only objective truth because it's like, no, we literally see chromosomes here, and we're seeing that you, like, given this like algorithm, you will become this.
Yeah.
And it follows the rules of the universal rules, like math, right? But if it's something that's subjective, then subjectivity is an illusion.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like your definition is different from my definition, thereby making the result no definition. Right? Because they cancel each other out. They can't both be true.
Yeah.
But if you look at an equation, if we get the same number forever, it is true. Yeah. Scientific thinking. People need to get on that. All right, so the Apple thing you're saying?
What was I saying? I forgot.
We're in like a new frontier.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember now. I was just looking it up the other day. It's like, when was like, because I remember I bought my first Mac in 2008, and like, when were all the other products coming out?
Yeah.
And they were all around at least 2 years prior to when I got it. So when the first MacBook Pros came out, I think it was when I got mine was 2008. So 2006, I think, when they first started with these Intel MacBook Pros. And then 2 years after that, iPhones came out.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the MacBook Air and things like that. And then 2 years after that was the iPad.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like all these were very close to each other in a very short amount of years. Right. And then 8 years prior to when I had mine was when they first had their first iMacs.
Yeah.
With the see-through backs and all these different colors. And now we're coming back. Now is almost 8 years now, right? It's like the spread has been long enough.
So if you look at the trend line, what you're saying is that Apple seems to release big things every 8 years.
Yeah, it seems to be like that because now this time it's all about the M1.
Yeah,
there's a big transition over.
And if you watch those videos, it's like it's crazy how you can.
Because when I got that Mac was the first transition into Intel,
right?
And now they're doing their own chips,
which is
M1
another 8
chips
years later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy.
And what comes from that, like we're seeing like the iPads even have the M1 and how they're all going to be it's more integration.
Yeah, totally. And we were talking about this like a couple of days ago, but what could be the new change? So like there was the iMac in the beginning, in 2000 or whatever, and then 8 years later was the MacBook Pro, which is like the laptop, and then we're trying to guess what's going to come next. Maybe nothing technological comes next, but the computational power and the connectivity and the speed is what's going to be revolutionary. You know, it might not be like a technological thing, but it might be
like not necessarily a new product.
Yeah, but
a change in their products.
Yeah, because like which makes total sense. Because how can you make a screen better than 4K? Our eyes can't go. Or 8K or whatever. Our eyes can't go further than that, so maybe they're like, okay, we've hit our max, let's just make it full integration. So we could see a world of fully integrated like laptops and like basically the Minority Report future. We're basically there now.
We're getting there.
We're not basically there, we're about to enter into that, which makes a lot of sense. I was saying before that I read this like futurist. It was actually Jamie Metzel, the CRISPR baby thing. Remember that book?
Yeah.
That's where it's from. I remembered it. It's he was saying that in his studies of like technology from 2020 to 2027, you're going to see like a crazy drop of like products and innovations in the technology sphere, because he's been watching it. Like they're like basically they're about to come to market.
Right.
So he's saying like, watch these years, you're going to be like, whoa, what happened in technology? And you do see it because like you see green cars and stuff like that. Like the Tesla's insane right now. But that's only one company. Like what about all these other companies that have been working behind the scenes for their products?
Yeah. And they're coming out now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you saw the EV Hummer and stuff like that.
EV Hummer, the Ford F-150 EV. There's the Mustang EV that's already out.
Even the Apple one is just so freaky. Like the M1 chip is just brilliant. How you can like that alone is like
they've changed a lot with the M1, and
basically M1, if you're wondering what it is, it's basically a chip that makes the processing speed faster and more powerful for a device, also
being more efficient with battery.
Sure. Also,
so it's like all these things combined, and they somehow figured out how to do it where they're even doing it better than Intel.
Yeah, and then that allows you to make like whatever you're doing on your laptop, you can just drop it over seamlessly onto your iPad and then seamlessly onto your iMac. Like there's no like lag. It's just like, yep, move that over. Yep, move that over. It seems fantastical now, but it'll seem commonplace, I'm sure, in like 5 years. Be like, yeah, of course, we're at this. But if you go back to like 1993, just as the internet was starting, remember how crappy our computers were? Yeah, but I think we knew that there was something with computers. You and I mean.
Yeah.
because we spent a lot of time on it too. There's
Yeah.
video games and like computers and like just technology. It was like, it's really gonna make a huge boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I still have my 2008 laptop, which is funny.
Yeah, it's still working, right?
It's still running.
Crazy. Speaking of like the M1 chip and the battery for it, one thing that I thought was really interesting was they were saying how this is like the hypocrisy of the whole movement, but like all the people that are like climate change and like being about like fair use. It's like if you're using anything with a battery, that came from a youth mining thing in Africa.
Yeah.
And it's like, because that's just how batteries are made, right? So you're
or some of the pieces, some of the ingredients come from there.
Those countries. Ingredients, though.
Yeah, essential ingredients.
It's not even like, oh yeah, like maybe we could just swap this out. It's like, no, for batteries to be made, we need this one. It's sort of like, it kind of reminds you of like carbon emissions. Like gasoline, you're like, oh, that's an amazing car, yeah, but you know what it's doing to the environment, right? So it's sort of like that now where, that's great that we can have batteries because we can power things like your laptop, like your phone, like all batteries, literally. But it comes at the price of like child labor, and people don't. That's why it's like, don't bite the hand that feeds. Understand that this is just how the world works. It's like there's good and bad work and interplay with one another. There's no like perfectly good thing or perfectly bad thing.
Right. And also like these areas, because I think they're in Congo, a lot of these mines.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like a failed state type, right? So it's like, it's hard to even regulate those sort of things.
Yeah, totally, because there's a lot of bribery, a lot of corruption, a lot of death, you know? It's the one with the biggest stick wins over there. And the stick can come in the form of like guns or money, you know, or political influence, stuff like that. But yeah, that's why it's so funny. Like they're tweeting their, like the guy that, the guy from my old workplace, he sent me this picture of this person saying like how social media is like evil. Right. He sent me like this meme, this like picture of like somebody with a sign saying like social media is evil. And then I said like, oh, that's funny because he used social media to spread that idea. So it's like,
right.
How do you not see that you are being hypocritical? Because nobody thinks about it. We all think about black and white, like good and evil. But the world's gray. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Final thing. CDC. Masks stay on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Delta variant has pretty big.
That's so funny because I thought when we got the shots, I was like, well, this is going to be the final COVID episode. But no. Yeah.
Yeah, with the variants, it's all based on following whatever the science leads, right? So at that current time, they didn't really have a big push or big, like a lot of people having the spread of Delta at the time. So that's why they were able to remove the mask mandate. Yeah. But now they have to bring it back in because science didn't notice that you're still carrying the same amount of the virus in you.
Oh, really?
That you could spread it.
Like even if you have the vaccine.
If you're vaccinated, but you're not going to be necessarily like hospitalized or die from it.
You'll just have it.
Yeah.
But that's why they're saying like in Toronto, like the fourth wave is really going to affect the unvaccinated people, not really the vaccinated people.
Yeah, it depends how you word that. So,
okay.
Are people vaccinated could they still get sick? Yes, there's still going to be some people going to get sick. But it's going to be more, you got to think of it more like a flu where it's like you're out for a week, you're back, right? Yeah. But unvaccinated people will have more of an impact on them because they will then be using upper hospital beds.
Right.
So that's where it'll be more of an issue. Yeah.
It's so funny how back and forth COVID is, like with the data that's coming in real time. So it's funny because like when we got the vaccines, I was like, well, I guess those mask companies are kind of dead now. And then like, nope,
not yet.
They're not yet. So like the Razor mask looks like a great idea, and the Black Eyed Peas dude, his mask looks like a cool idea as well. Where it has like headphones, so you can like hear music or whatever, and then the Razor one I think is like it has like speaker built in, because people can't hear you when you're wearing a
Yeah,
mask.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
noticed that too with myself.
Oh,
like
yeah,
I have to,
yeah.
I actually have to like remove it a little bit to say, because they can't hear me.
Right.
But that'd be pretty good. Just wear like the mask and then built-in speakers. Yeah, crazy world, man. I don't know. Where are we headed? I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. Each mask, I was watching something where it's like, because there's different types of masks, and how long does it take necessarily to get it in you, right? So like with the general mask, it covers you if you're with someone around you who has it, like it's like 20 minutes till it actually gets to you or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like the general surgical mask.
But you have to be like hanging out with them.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay.
But it's like they were.
But if we're passing,
they were
by,
doing it.
like,
Yeah, you're not gonna. Yeah, but if you're doing it around, doesn't mean like you're standing in front of them talking to them for like 20 minutes. You can probably still get it if you're wearing a surgical mask. But if you are wearing like the N95 and stuff, it'll like go like hours long, right?
Really?
So there's each mask has there's a time on it.
Is the N95 those KN95s, the one I got from Costco? Is that what the N95 is? I'm like, what is this N95?
No, K95 is I would say one before N95. Because the N95 I've seen what they're like, it's super like on your face.
Is the N95 like the one that you use for like dust if you're
I don't think it's just dust.
No, but I mean like if you're like a wood carpenter, you know that one that they wear that's like a, you know, like it looks like
just a cup thing?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Okay. Like it's just with the one string or something around it. Yeah, no, that's not N95.
Oh, okay.
No.
The heck is an N95, bro?
Like it'll say N95 and they're much more like thicker.
Okay. Well, the KN95 is really thick. Like I can't breathe in it. I'm like, oh, this is tough.
Right. So like I think it's like there's KN95 is a level of one of them, right? So that'll probably cover you couple of hours. Like N95 will be like 3 to 4 hours. So I don't know. I don't know that. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was like something like that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Oh, interesting. Or you just get the digital mask and then it'll protect you forever unless you touch your face.
Digital mask?
The razor and the...
No, they're all going to work the same way.
No, because this one's like a suction to your face.
Yeah, but the air is still going to...
No, it has filters.
Maybe so with the filters, maybe they're again it's still going to be probably
it has like it's you have to charge it.
No, I understand that. Because I'm still saying that there's going to be there's always limitations. It's not forever. I'm saying like maybe you'll get a day 24 hours of it. But like that's you know what I mean? Like
yeah, how long before?
Yeah.
No, you have the battery life. You have the full battery life of the thing. Because once the battery's dead, it's like, well, then...
Yeah, but then you got to also change the filters.
Yeah, true.
So if you're not changing the filters...
well, it's the safer one than the...
Well, we don't know. I mean, we don't know like what the exact numbers are. I'm just saying...
I don't even know if I buy it, though. Like, it's $700 for a mask.
Oh, no, they won't do that. Yeah, by the time... It's like you buy it and it's like...
Like, well, you never know. Like
you never know.
Because it could be like just from the way things are going right now. It's like, why is this taking forever?
Yeah, but I just don't think $700 is a little bit much.
Yeah, it's a bit much. Do you think it'll? Actually, we won't even speculate on it because I thought it was done after we got the shot, and it's like worry about the Delta. It's like, oh man, all right, fine. Yeah. Is there any talks of like a new variant coming out, like a Gamma?
There's not necessarily like a new variant, but the talk was about Lambda variant, right?
What's that?
But Lambda variant is not a new variant.
Oh, okay.
Right, it was there since Alpha.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But only was spreading in South America.
Okay.
So now it's in other parts. Yeah. So it's now that the Delta is in South America, they have to see which one's going to win out, right? It's right. Is it going to be? They're still going to have a high amount of. Yeah, that's the thing, right? These are more likely to happen, and they'll create a much more stronger variant.
So, all right. So, final thought, or final question: do you think we're going to enter into another lockdown before the end of the year? I saw that on Six Buzz, and I was like, good question. I don't know.
I'm watching Israel at the moment. And I don't think they're doing any lockdowns.
They're just doing more vaccines.
They're doing the third dose for the more elderly, and
so not for everyone.
Right, and their case numbers did go up, but their deaths are still very low. So if the vaccines are doing their job, which is keeping you from dying,
So no.
then it's just going to be, then
Like
we're
the
just
flu.
acting as if it's like a flu.
Oh, okay, cool. It's like, oh, just don't catch the flu.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And seems to be like, I think masks would be our best chance against this.
So maybe it won't be a lockdown. Maybe it'll just be masks for life.
For some time. So, yeah.
Dang, bro. I think my cousin Jonah was saying that the Chinese vaccine that he got, it doesn't even last that long. Because I was like, oh, how's it going over there? And he's like, we were talking about like the vaccines, and he's like, yeah, I don't know how long. I think it's like 6 months or something like that. Or
Well, again, it's like up to how long they've tested it for. It might be longer than that. It's not like the vaccine lasts longer. It's you being able to create the
to remember
how to create the antibodies for that.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
So it depends on variants and how well. I don't know how the efficacy for the Sinovac is. So
it's funny.
I don't think it's that high.
If they make us get these like vaccines all the time, it's like I've almost completely gotten over my needle phobia. Like after the last one, I was like, okay, it's not that bad. And by doing it right, by wrapping it and like whatever, I was like, okay, we can do this again. It's not that bad. It's like it's almost like perfect for me because I need to get over.
It's a
my
way
needle
to
phobia,
one step at a time here. Yeah, two
It's
shots.
Like, 2 shots, and I was like, okay, yearly shot. Okay.
Okay.
Well, it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could take it the other way, and then people who have like needle phobia are like dying. They'd rather like kill themselves than get it.
That could happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll see. The future's bright for technology, and it looks hazy for COVID, I guess.
Yeah, I just don't know. We just have to go based on, like one step at a time. We're seeing, because the vaccines are working. They are actually doing their job.
Right, but what I'm saying is like maybe it's just masks forever.
I wouldn't say forever. I don't want to use those terms for forever.
Yeah, forever. Like masks for at least
for
like
the time
2 to
being,
3
we're
years.
going to continue with the mask. Because like even we're opening more up, I think, and the mask is not being removed off the books.
Yeah, you said that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like
even
you got to keep the mask, which I think I would agree with. It seems to be right now our best fight.
Yeah.
Because plus sort of vaccines.
Yeah. I hope they come out with that breath strip soon, or the pill.
Oh, right.
It's like for boosters.
Yeah.
So just instead of having to get shot, it's just like just take the breath strip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Till next time, Vish.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
No, I'm gonna watch Jungle Cruise today, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's
Cool.
a different type of movie, yeah.
Yeah, let me know if it's good. I like The Rock, and I like Emily Blunt too. She's cool. It's Emily Blunt, right?
It's Emily Blunt.
Yeah, okay. I like
from
those
The Quiet
two.
Place.
Yeah. I like those two actors, so that's cool.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll watch it too, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, till next time. Take it easy, Vish.
Yes. Peace.
Bye. All right, hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.